the idea of a mass audience. I think for Jonathan, he was a writer who worked in, I mean, he had a certain amount of acclaim, but mostly in smaller literary circles and had worked very privately. And I think his second book he felt was a disappointment in terms of how many readers he had. And in some sort of way, he'd worked for 9 years about this and developed, I think as a writer, you develop this certain sort of sense and belief in yourself that's in opposition to the world, and suddenly when the world agrees with you, it's an uncomfortable thing that happens. Suddenly you now get all these things that you wanted. But if you can imagine yourself as the unpopular person in high school, and some sort of events turn around and everybody likes you and wants to be around you, and even wants to put their sticker on you, and what that would feel like, and instantly it was, no, you're going to take your sticker off now, you know, and this is this thing and it's mine. So I think there was something, and I very much respected it, and I think that you know, to a certain extent, but I think that it was taken in the wrong context. I don't think it was intended as a sign of disrespect towards that. But I think it was that kind of tricky area. I think it was sort of metamorphizing from a very private person into a public person, and I think that was difficult. And I think that's a lot of what everyone's talking about today. I think is that sort of challenge. To be literary is to be private in some sort of way. To be commercial is to be public. But there's always that longing. It's kind of like when people get out of college, there's two sorts of midlife crises. The first sort of midlife crisis is, boy, I should have done something artistic, I should have done something. And those who chose art say, oh my God, I don't have any money, I can't buy a house. So for writers, you know, there's a little bit of the two sorts of things. You know, I think those people who are commercial writers desperately want, you know, there's a friend of mine who sold millions of copies and desperately wanted to get a story in Tin House magazine. You know, and he's asking me, how do I do that? You know, and you're like, are you kidding? You know, you sort of ask. Not that Tin House is a wonderful magazine, but the idea, you have readers, you have this huge audience, but you owe to, there is a certain envy for that which you haven't, and there's, I mean, nobody wants to be, you know, the question of do you want to be literary or commercial, you know, you sort of don't want to answer that question. If you say that you're commercial, you're saying one thing. If you say that you're literary, you sound like you're boasting. So, in some sort of way, like, I'm so smart in ways that you will never understand. That's what it is to say I'm a literary writer. So, are there other questions?